The fluorescent lights flickered above me as I stared at the frail figure lying motionless on the hospital bed. My grandfather, once a towering presence in my life, now reduced to a shadow of his former self. His chest rose and fell with labored breaths, each one sounding like it could be his last. Around him, our family wept silently, their faces etched with guilt and helplessness. We had all seen the signs, the fatigue he dismissed as just old age, the shortness of breath he shrugged off after climbing stairs, but none of us acted until it was too late. Outside the window, an endless line of ambulances stretched toward the horizon, their sirens wailing like a grim symphony. Each vehicle carried another elderly patient fighting for survival, victims of conditions that didn't have to claim them so soon. Every 4 seconds, somewhere in the world, another senior becomes a casualty of diseases that are entirely preventable. 4 seconds. The thought alone sends chills down my spine. How many lives could have been saved if only someone had intervened earlier? It's not just statistics, it's real people. Families torn apart, memories erased before they can even be cherished. And yet, amidst this bleak reality, there is hope, a glimmer of light piercing through the darkness. A groundbreaking study uncovered something astonishing. The longest living individuals across the globe shared one common trait. They consumed specific nutrient-rich fruits daily. When scientists first analyzed the data, though, they were stunned. Something so simple, so accessible, held the key to longevity. Could it really be true? Could adding certain fruits to your diet actually rewrite the script of aging? This discovery shook the scientific community to its core, forcing us to rethink everything we thought we knew about health and vitality. What if the solution wasn't some expensive medication or invasive procedure, but rather something as basic and powerful as what you eat every day? As I stood by my grandfather's bedside, watching his fragile body struggle against time, I couldn't shake the feeling that we'd failed him. But failure doesn't have to define us, not when answers lie within reach. If there's one thing I've learned from this harrowing experience, it's that knowledge isn't enough. Action is what saves lives. So today, let's dive into the secrets behind these miracle fruits, the ones that might just hold the power to rewrite your future. The fluorescent lights flickered above, casting a cold glow over the hospital room where my grandmother sat slumped in her wheelchair. Her once vibrant eyes, those same eyes that used to sparkle with stories of family adventures and laughter-filled holidays, now stared at me blankly. I held up an old photo album, its pages yellowed with time, showing pictures of birthdays, weddings, and vacations we had shared together. But when I asked her who was in the photos, she simply shook her head, unable to recognize even her own grandchildren. The pain of watching someone you love lose their memories is indescribable, a slow unraveling of identity, one forgotten face at a time. Every day she spent trapped in this mental fog felt like another piece of her slipping away forever. It wasn't just about forgetting names or faces. It was the way she looked at us now with desperation, confusion, and a haunting awareness that something vital was missing. She couldn't explain what it was, but we could see it in her trembling hands as they reached out for connection, only to find emptiness. Those albums, once cherished treasures filled with life's happiest moments, now lay abandoned on the shelf, collecting dust because no one wanted to relive the heartbreak of seeing her struggle to remember. And yet, as devastating as this scene was, it didn't have to be this way. Every single day that passed without action was another opportunity lost forever. Each morning she woke up without proper nutrition. Each afternoon she spent sitting idle instead of moving her body. Each evening she went to bed without engaging her mind through conversation or puzzles. It all added up. These small, seemingly insignificant choices compounded into irreversible damage over time. I thought back to Dorothy, whose fall shattered not only her hip, but also her independence. Or Margaret, gasping for breath as years of neglect caught up with her lungs. Their stories weren't so different from my grandmother's. They were warnings I hadn't heeded soon enough. What if we had acted earlier? What if we had encouraged her to eat more nutrient-rich foods like blueberries and avocados, which protect the brain and keep arteries clear? What if we had insisted on daily walks, even if they were short, to stimulate blood flow and strengthen muscles? What if we had taken 5 minutes every night to look through those photo albums together, sparking memories before they faded completely? But regret doesn't change the past. It only sharpens the sting of missed opportunities. Now, standing there holding her frail hand, I realized how urgent it was to act, not just for her, but for everyone else facing similar struggles. Aging isn't inevitable decline, it's a spectrum where every choice matters. A diet rich in antioxidants, regular physical activity, and consistent mental engagement can delay or even prevent the worst effects of aging. Even something as simple as adding papaya to breakfast or drinking pomegranate juice can make a profound difference. As I closed the photo album and placed it back on the shelf, I whispered to myself, no more waiting, because every day counts. Every meal, every step, every moment of connection has the power to rewrite the future. And while my grandmother may never fully regain what she's lost, I refuse to let others suffer the same fate. If you're still here with us reading this, take a moment to reflect. Are you doing everything you can to protect your health, or are you letting precious days slip away? 1. Heart disease, a family's wake-up call. The laughter and chatter of a family dinner were abruptly shattered when my grandfather, Robert, slumped forward in his chair, clutching his chest. His face turned pale as beads of sweat formed on his forehead. Panic erupted around the table. His wife screamed for help while my mother frantically dialed 911. The paramedics arrived just in time, rushing him to the hospital where he was diagnosed with a severe heart attack. It wasn't until that moment we realized how close we had come to losing him. In the weeks that followed, our family faced an impossible decision. With both parents now struggling with health issues, they could no longer live independently. Moving them into a nursing home seemed like the only option, but it broke our hearts to imagine them confined to sterile rooms, stripped of their dignity and autonomy. Determined to avoid this fate, we rallied together. We revamped Grandpa's diet, replacing processed snacks with nutrient-rich foods like avocados and blueberries. Every morning he took short walks around the neighborhood, even if it meant resting every few steps. Slowly but surely, something miraculous happened. After months of small yet consistent changes, Robert stood up from his favorite armchair without assistance, a feat none of us thought possible. He wasn't just surviving, he was thriving. 2. Falls and injuries. From tragedy to triumph, Dorothy's life changed forever one rainy afternoon when she slipped on her staircase. Her hip shattered upon impact, leaving her bedridden for 6 long months. What started as a simple accident spiraled into a nightmare. Muscles weakened, joints stiffened, and her once vibrant spirit dimmed. She became a prisoner in her own body, unable to dress herself or enjoy the simplest pleasures of life. Worst of all, Dorothy withdrew from friends and family, convinced she was a burden. But hope came knocking when her daughter hired a physical therapist who introduced Dorothy to strength training exercises tailored for seniors. Handrails were installed throughout the house, rugs secured, and lighting improved. At first, progress was agonizingly slow. Dorothy cried during sessions, frustrated by her limitations. Yet, with each tiny victory, a step forward, a steadier grip on the railing, her confidence grew. One day, nearly a year after the fall, Dorothy walked unassisted across her living room. Tears streamed down her face, not of pain, but of triumph. That moment marked the beginning of her journey back to independence. 3. Respiratory diseases, breathing life back into hope. Margaret's nights were haunted by the sound of her own labored breathing. Diagnosed with chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, she relied on an oxygen tank to survive. Doctors warned her family that without aggressive treatment, Margaret might not see another season. Her grandchildren, too young to fully understand, missed playing tag with Grandma. The air in her home felt heavy, thick with despair. Then came a turning point. Margaret's son removed every trace of cigarette smoke from the house and installed high-quality air purifiers. He encouraged her to try gentle yoga and deep breathing exercises. To everyone's astonishment, Margaret's condition began improving. Within weeks, she no longer needed supplemental oxygen at night. Months later, she found herself chasing after her grandkids in the backyard, laughing uncontrollably as they shrieked with joy. For Margaret, clean air wasn't just about survival, it was about reclaiming the moments that made life worth living. For stroke, fighting against the odds, Henry woke up one morning unable to utter a single word. His right arm lay limp beside him, useless. A massive stroke had robbed him of basic functions overnight. As weeks turned into months, Henry grew increasingly withdrawn. Conversations became awkward silences. Meals required assistance. Watching a proud man reduced to dependency was heartbreaking for everyone involved. Yet amidst the gloom, there was glimmer of hope. Henry's doctor emphasized the importance of managing blood pressure through medication, exercise, and dietary adjustments. Leafy greens replaced salty snacks, and daily stretches became part of his routine. Though recovery was painstakingly slow, Henry refused to give up. By the end of the year, he regained 70% of his mobility and could hold conversations again. While scars remained, so did resilience. Henry proved that even after life-altering events, the human spirit can adapt and overcome. 5. Cognitive decline, rekindling lost memories. Emma used to be the heart of our family gatherings, famous for her homemade apple pies and stories from decades past. But as dementia crept in, her world shrank. She forgot recipes she'd known by heart, misnamed loved ones, and once left the stove burner on all night, nearly causing a fire. Each forgotten detail chipped away at her identity, leaving behind a shell of the woman we adored. Desperate to reconnect, Emma's granddaughter began visiting regularly, bringing photo albums and puzzles designed to stimulate memory. They baked together, following simple recipes step by step. Over time, fragments of Emma's personality reemerged. She remembered her granddaughter's name, then her son's birthday. Most importantly, she rediscovered joy in sharing meals with her family. Though cognitive decline couldn't be reversed entirely, These small efforts gave Emma a renewed sense of purpose. Love, patience, and connection proved more powerful than any prescription. Conclusion. Lessons learned through struggle. These stories are not isolated incidents. They represent universal truths about aging and mortality. Whether it's heart disease, falls, respiratory illnesses, strokes, or cognitive decline, the underlying message remains clear. Prevention is always better than cure. Small, intentional actions taken today can transform tomorrow. From Robert's newfound vitality to Emma's treasured memories, each narrative reminds us that while aging brings challenges, it also offers opportunities for growth, resilience, and renewal. Let these tales inspire you to take charge of your health and perhaps share them with someone who needs encouragement. Together, we can rewrite the script of aging. Imagine your body as a grand, intricate building, the kind you see in old photographs full of history and resilience. But now picture this structure crumbling, brick by brick, with no way to retrieve what has fallen. Each missed opportunity for action is another piece of the foundation giving way, leaving behind a fragile shell that cannot withstand the test of time. That's exactly what happens when we ignore the warning signs our bodies send us. Every cell lost to neglect or poor choices chips away at the very core of who we are. The hourglass doesn't stop for anyone. As I watch my grandfather Robert struggle through his recovery from a heart attack, it felt like watching grains of sand slip irreversibly through the narrowing neck of an hourglass. Each grain represented dying cells, fading strength, and stolen independence, all slipping away before our eyes. It wasn't just about him anymore. It was about all of us realizing how little control we have over time if we don't act early enough. By the time symptoms became impossible to dismiss, so much damage had already been done. His fatigue hadn't been just aging. It was a silent countdown ticking closer to disaster. And then there was Dorothy, whose fall shattered more than her hip. It broke her spirit. The day she tumbled down those stairs, I could almost hear the bricks hitting the ground one after another. Her independence crumbled along with her bones, and nothing could bring back the life she once knew. We installed handrails, adjusted medications, and worked on strengthening her muscles. But why did it take tragedy to spur these changes? If only we'd acted sooner, perhaps she wouldn't have spent 6 agonizing months bedridden, staring blankly at the ceiling while her world grew smaller and darker. Even Margaret's story serves as a haunting reminder. When she first started gasping for breath, it seemed manageable, a minor inconvenience rather than a red flag. But inside her lungs, invisible cracks were spreading, weakening the walls until they collapsed under pressure. Every cough suppressed, every shortness of breath ignored, allowed the decay to spread unchecked. Like water seeping into the foundation of a house, the damage worsened silently until repair was nearly impossible. Time waits for no one, and neither does illness. These moments are not abstract concepts, they're real lives unraveling right in front of us. You can't rewind the clock or rebuild what's been destroyed. What you can do is start today, right now, with small but deliberate actions. Replace processed snacks with fresh fruits like avocados or blueberries. Take 5 extra steps during your daily walk. Schedule that long overdue checkup. Because every second counts, and each decision compounds into either vitality or vulnerability. If you've ever doubted whether small habits matter, think again. Henry learned this lesson the hard way after suffering a stroke that left him partially paralyzed. Had he monitored his blood pressure consistently, had he swapped salty foods for leafy greens earlier, his story might have ended differently. Instead, he sits in his chair, dependent on others, haunted by the knowledge that he could have changed the outcome. Don't let yourself become another statistic. Don't wait until the last grain of sand falls. Act now, not tomorrow, not next week, because tomorrow may never come. Your future self will thank you. Right now, as you're watching this video, hundreds of seniors are being rushed to hospitals, some clutching their chests in the throes of a heart attack, others lying unconscious after a devastating fall, and many gasping for breath as their lungs struggle against years of neglect. These aren't distant tragedies. They're happening right now all around us. And here's the hard truth. You or someone you love could easily become the next statistic if action isn't taken today. Think about Robert, Dorothy, Margaret, Henry, and Emma. Their stories weren't just warnings. They were wake-up calls. Each one of them faced life-altering crises that could have been avoided with earlier intervention. Robert's heart attack didn't come out of nowhere. It was years of poor diet and inactivity catching up with him. Dorothy's fall wasn't just bad luck. It was the result of weakened muscles and ignored balance issues. Margaret's breathing struggles? Decades of exposure to pollutants and lack of movement finally took its toll. How many more lives must we lose before we realize these risks don't wait for anyone? Don't let yourself or your loved ones become another number on a chart. Imagine waking up one morning to find your parent unable to recognize you because cognitive decline went unchecked. Or picture standing helplessly by as paramedics wheel away your spouse after a stroke caused by untreated high blood pressure. These scenarios aren't fiction. They're preventable realities that happen every single day. The question is, will you act before it's too late? Every small step you take today can rewrite tomorrow's story. Start by adding nutrient-rich fruits like blueberries, avocados, and papayas to your meals. Commit to moving your body, even if it's just 10 minutes of stretching each day. Schedule that overdue checkup and insist your family does the same. Share this information with friends and neighbors. Spread awareness so no one has to face these challenges unprepared. Remember, knowledge without action is meaningless. If there's one thing I want you to carry forward from this video, it's this. Time is not on your side. While you hesitate, countless seniors are fighting for their lives in emergency rooms. You hold the power to change the trajectory of your health and the health of those you care about. Type 2 or 4 in the comments below if this resonated with you. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications to stay informed because staying proactive means staying alive. Together, let's ensure fewer families experience the pain of preventable loss. Ache now for yourself, for your loved ones, for a future filled with strength, clarity, and independence. Not everyone will live to see their 100th birthday, but with the right knowledge and action, you can truly live in the years you do have. Imagine this. While others your age are confined to hospital beds or struggling daily with preventable illnesses, like Robert's heart attack that nearly took him away, Dorothy's fall that stole her independence, Margaret gasping for breath as her lungs failed her, you could be stepping into your 100s with a radiant smile, full of energy, vitality, and purpose. That's not just a dream. It's a possibility within reach if you take control today. Think about Henry, who once dismissed apples as just another fruit, until he added them to his diet and saw his joint pain fade, his digestion improve, and his energy soar. Or consider Frank, whose journey from battling high blood pressure to reclaiming his strength began with something as simple as swapping processed snacks for creamy avocados. These weren't miracles. They were choices, small, consistent actions that transformed their lives. And now imagine yourself on the other side of those decisions. What would it feel like to wake up each morning without the weight of regret pressing down on you? To move through life unburdened by the diseases that claim so many after 75? But here's the hard truth. Time is unforgiving. Every missed opportunity to nourish your body, to strengthen your muscles, or to protect your brain is a step closer to becoming one of those statistics we discussed earlier. The ones where heart disease, falls, respiratory illnesses, strokes, and cognitive decline rob people of their golden years. The image of an elderly person trapped in a wheelchair, unable to recognize loved ones, isn't just a tragic story. It's a warning. It's what happens when prevention is ignored, when small signs are dismissed, when action is delayed. Now contrast that bleak picture with this: a vibrant centenarian walking confidently through their garden, laughing with grandchildren, cooking meals they love, and living without fear of illness dictating their days. This isn't fantasy. It's the result of understanding the risks and acting decisively. Blueberries preserve memory. Avocados shield the heart. Pomegranates keep blood flowing freely. Papayas aid digestion and immunity. Apples reduce inflammation and stabilize blood sugar. Together, together, these fruits aren't just food, they're tools for rewriting your future. So ask yourself, which path will you choose? Will you wait until it's too late, watching helplessly as your health slips away? Or will you start now, taking charge of your destiny by making smarter choices every single day? Remember, aging is inevitable, but suffering isn't. You hold the power to shape how you age, to ensure that your later years are filled with joy, freedom, and fulfillment instead of pain, dependency, and regret. And the clock is ticking. Each second counts. Don't let another moment pass without committing to change. Whether it's adding nutrient-rich foods to your plate, scheduling that overdue checkup, or simply moving your body a little more each day, the steps you take today will echo throughout the rest of your life. Picture yourself at 100, not frail and forgotten, but thriving and cherished. Make that vision real. Your future self will thank you.